What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. This episode is going to primarily be us talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which of course, guys, got recently announced, and then of course the trailer came out, and I wanted to kind of discuss in detail Assassin's Creed as an entire franchise, and of course their newest addition to the series, that being Valhalla. And we're going to be talking about other things in the show as well, but mainly I want to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla because, look, guys, there's a lot to break down here. There's a lot that I wanted to talk about, kind of get off my chest somewhat, and I would love to hear your guys' opinions about, what you think about Valhalla as far as from a trailer perspective, the things that we know so far about this game. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. But let's start with this, guys. Everything that we know so far about this game that's coming out, we see the trailer, it's come out, and wow. I got to say that visually it looks stunning without a doubt. I mean, that's the first thing that really came to my mind was, wow, this game looks gorgeous. It looks great. It's coming out this year, later on this year, and I'm excited about it. I was excited about just like looking at it from a visual perspective. Now, what I want to talk about though, in particular, though, guys, is what Assassin's Creed Valhalla, in my opinion, has done right as well as what it's done wrong, at least up to this point as to what we've seen so far. So, essentially, guys, the things that we know about this game so far. Number one, we're going into the Viking era, which should be quite interesting to say the least. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I was kind of hoping that, we would kind of get more of a traditional feel to this game, that being more of a feeling like Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, Revelations, Black Flag even, but it feels more of the same as far as, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins, and I'll get to that here shortly, as far as just the style of play that looks like we're going to be going kind of back to once again. And look, guys, overall, like I said, as a trailer, I thought that it looks visually stunning. But other than that, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game in my personal opinion, just by watching the cinematic trailer. Now, obviously, we got to wait for the gameplay to come out. I think it's going to be a pretty gritty story, it seems like. It looks like it's going to be pretty gritty, right? But Origins and Odyssey, it kind of feels somewhat like more of the same. And look, guys, I am starting to compare Assassin's Creed in many aspects to Call of Duty. Not in the sense of like the game mechanics and, one's a first-person shooter, another is just an action, role-playing game, open within an open world. And honestly, it started off though as a stealth, open world game. And so the way that I compare these is because Call of Duty had, as many franchises do, guys, there's a lot of these peaks and valleys in these franchises. What I mean by that is that Call of Duty was doing so well, was on this significant incline, and then all of a sudden they introduce a new game mechanics, that being kind of going away from what made Call of Duty so great in the first place, and they introduced jetpacks, and we had 3 jetpack games, which we called the jetpack era of Call of Duty. Some people liked it, others, I would say most people, did not like the jetpack era of Call of Duty, and now they've kind of gone back to what made Call of Duty great, and, we've had a couple of games that, since, the jetpack era, that have made some significant strides in bringing Call of Duty back to a really good place. I look at Assassin's Creed and I say the same kind of thing. I look at, they've had this great incline over time, but then they've had a couple of games, that being like Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and now I'm not going to say that Valhalla is going to be the third one, kind of like with Call of Duty. Call of Duty had 3 games that were just not, were the jetpack games, which was Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, and I'm looking at something very similar to what, Assassin's Creed and what Ubisoft has done is they've gone away from the formula of what's really made this series special, and they moved into this like action type of game and series. And so since, Origins, Odyssey, and now with Valhalla, this could be the three that are similar to Call of Duty in that aspect. Is Valhalla going to sell well? Probably. Assassin's Creed has a very strong following, and people will play each of these games similar to Call of Duty because the Call of Duty's franchise and the fan base that it's built, people will play every game regardless of how good or bad it is. So I kind of compare them in that aspect, guys. And I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying that Valhalla is going to be a bad game. I'm saying it looks like more of the same. And so what I mean by that is it looks more like Origins. It looks more like Odyssey with the mechanics. Look, guys, I've been saying this for a while. What Assassin's Creed needs to do is go back to what made it such a great series in the first place. That being a stealth game, right? Like being a part of the Assassin's Creed. And I know they're going to tie in some way or another to the overall arching story, but it's felt like ever since Black Flag and even, with Assassin's Creed Revelations and Assassin's Creed Black Flag, that the direction has kind of just gone into this very limbo state. Like it's really hard to see almost where this story is going at times. And so to me, personally, watching the trailer and getting my initial reactions, visually stunning. But other than that, doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed. Now, at the very last shot, when, the very last shot of the trailer, it started feeling a little bit like Assassin's Creed. But, like, I feel like there's a mystery to these characters in the Assassin's Creed franchise, wearing the hoods and being a part of the Creed and, of course, using stealth to take out certain enemies and such was such a core piece to this franchise. And they've gone away from that to the extent of now with Vikings. Look, I'm not saying that it's going to be like that they're going away completely from the formula, because obviously the gameplay is going to feel a little bit similar, but they've gone into this, they're so heavy into the action, type of game now versus that of what was stealth. And it's similar to like, we could compare it to so many different games. I mean, Call of Duty's one of them, we could even compare it to games like Dead Space. You could compare it, games that were one thing and then they changed to being something else and it ruined the franchise. And so I'm not saying that this is going to ruin the franchise, guys, by any stretch of the imagination. Don't take that from this saying that I think that it's all gloom and doom, because I don't think it is. But what I will say is this. I was hoping that Assassin's Creed 5 or Assassin's Creed Valhalla, whatever, the next title was going to be, I was hoping that it was going to go back to what made Assassin's Creed so great in the first place. Going back to what kind of where it started, the core, like continuing the Assassin's Creed and like this, this group that, of using stealth to take out enemies and just, I don't know, like maybe they felt that they had just done Assassin's Creed, that way for just too long and it just was kind of not working. And I don't believe that that was the case at all. I believe it was actually, they were just making way too many Assassin's Creed games. They were coming out like it was a Call of Duty every single year, and people just got kind of sick and tired of it. Like it was just kind of getting stale after a while. So they changed up the formula. They made Origins, they make Odyssey, and now with Valhalla, they are, they've kind of changed the formula. And I don't know if it's really, paid off for them. Obviously, Assassin's Creed sells well, regardless of what game it is. But I'll tell you, one of the things that really bothered me about this franchise, other than it kind of went away from the formula, is also that they're forcing you to do side missions in order to continue main missions. You'll be playing the game, and then there'll be times where you have to do side stories in order to continue the main story, which kind of draws you out of the main story, or you kind of, you're getting into a story, and then all of a sudden they tell you that you got to start doing side quests in order to continue the main story. And I just don't like those things. I like being able to go at the story and do side quests and such at my own pace. But hopefully they don't do that with Valhalla. This is going to be a game, guys, that I feel it's going to, we're all going to, I think that with Assassin's Creed, just because it's Assassin's Creed, there's going to be things that we like about it, but I think that at least at this point, now we obviously don't know the story arcs, we don't know where the characters are going, we have no idea, what's going to happen in this story. But from what we've seen so far, it feels like more of the same with, that being like Odyssey and Origins, and they're just continuing that with Valhalla. Just, different time periods and, obviously different characters. I think another thing that was really cool about the older Assassin's Creed games was you kind of had, there were, some games where you had the same characters that you were playing as, so you really were able to kind of get used to those characters and really start becoming those characters as you're playing the games. And that was something, with Ezio and, just the number of different characters that we've played as throughout this series. I just felt like it's had almost an identity crisis to it. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla, guys, as far as everything that we know very little, really, even though we have the trailer now. We know it's the Viking era. We know that, they are kind of continuing what they started with Origins and Odyssey. At least that's what I believe, that they kind of changed the formula into this action RPG style. And so I think that they're just continuing more of the same. And so, look, we could speculate all day about what the story is going to be all about. There were incredible visuals. So I think at the end of the day, guys, when we play this game, the visuals are going to be, something that really stands out. I think that, other than that, maybe it will be a visceral story, something that's really exciting and it ties into everything else, or it really kind of goes full circle, and kind of brings back what made Assassin's Creed so good. Like, even if it's at the very end of the game, it's just felt that, guys, and I don't want to get on this significant rant, but I've talked about this on the YouTube channel, that there is something very special with Assassin's Creed. It's one of my favorite franchises ever. This is a franchise that I felt that between Assassin's Creed all the way to Black Flag, so you're talking 2007 to 2013, those stretch of games were some of the best games, guys, that I had played, at that period of time. They were just incredible, and I would have loved to see the continuation moving forward. And I think that there were times where there was some special games, where there could have been, I should say, some special other titles scattered throughout since then. But I just felt that the series shifted. And when it did, it started hurting the franchise. And I'm not going to say that it really shifted. Even when we go all the way to, Assassin's Creed like Syndicate. When you had Syndicate, they were still kind of following certain aspects of Assassin's Creed, but it just feels like, guys, that over time it just was changing. Assassin's Creed just changed over time in major ways, like between to Origins and Odyssey, and now with Valhalla, they've totally changed it. Now, look, maybe they're going to be like Call of Duty, where they're going to just continue making these games, and they're figuring, look, these 3 games are going to be, we're changing up the formula. And then after these 3, we're going to kind of go back to what made it so, what kind of the traditions of Assassin's Creed. And they'll bring out Assassin's Creed 5, like a true sequel to Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It's hard to say, guys. We know pretty little still about this story, and that's why I'm not going to completely jump ship on this franchise, because I haven't up to this point, and I've gone through the past couple of titles in the franchise have not really met my expectations whatsoever, so I'm not going to jump ship at this point. But what I will say is that I think more and more people are going to start continuing to leave this franchise if they don't go back to what made it so great in the first place, that being even if you have some stealth in it. I'm not saying that it has to be all stealth like it used to be, but just, I think at the end of the day, as long as you have a really strong, visceral story, great characters, and good gameplay mechanics, you're going to be in a good place. And I feel that there was at least one of those things missing from the last couple of titles in the Assassin's Creed games, and I hope that changes with Valhalla. But let me know what you guys think, guys, in the comment section below. What do you guys think that Assassin's Creed Valhalla got right? What do you think it got wrong? And you kind of hear what I think it got right. It definitely got the graphics right. Definitely seems like it might be somewhat of a visceral story. It just might not feel as much like Assassin's Creed for one reason or another. And what did it get wrong? Well, I think they need to go back to really the traditions of what made Assassin's Creed so great, that being like the stealth-based gameplay instead of the all-out action that we're becoming accustomed to in these Assassin's Creed games. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Assassin's Creed Valhalla content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. one of the most anticipated movies of the year, as well as one of the staples in as far as franchises are concerned in the movie industry, is Fast and Furious. And guys, we are now on the 9th installment of this franchise, and I'm extremely excited about it just because they're always a great blockbuster, popcorn movie that you want to just sit down and enjoy in the theaters. And I'm really, like I said, excited about it. I know a lot of other people are really anticipated about it as well. So I wanted to take this segment of the show and talk about everything we know so far about Fast and Furious 9. So let's talk about it. In an article, guys, that was written by Ian Sandwell, Morgan Jeffrey, and Gabriella Giesinger, Fast and Furious 9, everything that you need to know. Fast and Furious 9 should be racing towards its release right about now, but it's been stalled and delayed for an entire year. That should only serve to heighten the anticipation for the return of Vin Diesel's huge franchise when it does arrive next year. Both Fast and Furious 7 and Fast and Furious 8 crossed the $1 billion mark worldwide, with Fast and Furious 7 currently ranking as 9th biggest movie of all time with $1.51 billion. Spin-off Hobbs and Shaw might not have done as well, but big things are expected for F9. Barring the 9th film being a surprise flop, there's already a 10th movie planned. So the release date, guys, it's of course been delayed due to the pandemic, but it's crazy to think that Fast and Furious has had this many installments in the franchise, and it seems like it's just getting bigger and bigger as they go. Everything was on track for Fast and Furious 9 to be released on May 22nd, 2020, and Vin Diesel seemed confident that it would be released on time. However, it was confirmed in March the 9th outing in the hugely popular series would be delayed for an entire year to April 2nd, 2021 in the UK and US. It's become clear that it won't be possible for all of our fans around the world to see the film this May. While we know there is disappointment in having to wait a little while longer, this move is made with the safety of everyone as our foremost consideration, a statement read. Of course, filming took place between June and November 2019 in London, Los Angeles, Edinburgh, Thailand, and Georgia. As we mentioned, a 10th and final movie is planned, originally set for a 2021 release when the 9th film was due in 2019. Fast and Furious 9 has now taken this release date, so don't expect a double helping of Fast and Furious goodness in 2021. It's more likely that it won't hit cinemas until 2022 at the earliest, but it could be a two-part finale. For the fans, should Fast 10 parts 1 and 2 be the conclusion, it would be nice for this world to continue for generations to come, Diesel teased, adding in another interview that the 10th movie is fulfilling a promise to Paul Walker. So, look, guys, I think that what we can expect here with this, with these upcoming movies here is that I think that the whole idea for Fast and Furious was to have 10 movies. It seems like, after they got to Fast and Furious 7, then they did 8, and now they're on 9. It's like, why don't we just make it, a 10-part, series? And then at the same time, maybe it continues afterwards and they just continue it over, as far as an action, series goes. I don't think it would be the same without Vin Diesel and the rest of the crew, but at the same time, you never know where it could go. So it seems like, guys, at this point in time, and we've been talking about this quite a bit on the YouTube channel, with the pandemic going on in our world right now, it's hard to say whether or not, some of these movies that are now slated for a year later or, months later, that there's a potential possibility that they could get delayed even further because of the pandemic going on. It's just hard to say. It really comes down to the cinemas as well as the studios, whether or not they want to release these movies, because when things do finally get back to some form of normalcy, are we going to be able to go to the movie theater and sell out movie theaters? Or are the theaters going to be able to do those things? Or are they only going to be able to fill up theaters half full? Because at that point, a movie like Fast and Furious that's used to having filled up, movie theaters, they may think to themselves, you know what, we'll just wait a while longer just until things go back to completely normal. It's hard to say, guys. But as far as the trailer's concerned, you guys can definitely watch those trailers. There's a lot of course, guys, big time action, it looks like, once again, which they definitely, they don't, displease people when it comes to all of the action and the fun that these movies definitely have within them. Now, who's coming back for Fast and Furious 9? Before we get to the most exciting cast member, let's get through the regular ones. Most of the main cast are back for the 9th outing, so that's Vin Diesel as Dom, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty, Chris Ludacris Bridges as Tay, and Tyrese Gibson as Roman, among others. After missing out on the last movie, Jordana Brewster is also back as Dom's sister Mia, who is married to Paul Walker's Brian. Walker's brother Cody has been speaking about a potential return for Brian, saying that anything is possible after Cody and his brother Caleb stepped in to finish his filming for Fast and Furious 7. Nathalie Emmanuel will also return as Ramsey, as the first trailer also revealed that Lucas Black has reprised his Tokyo Drift role as Sean Boswell after briefly appearing in Fast and Furious 7. And then Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham are missing out this time around, most likely. The biggest newcomer will be John Cena, who was said to be playing a badass character in the 9th movie, and that's turned out to be none other than Dom's previously unknown brother Jacob. So this is where I was starting to get a little bit lost, is like, I thought that Dom already had a brother in one of the, I forget which, see, it's hard to get like the timeline here of all these movies. But Dom, I remember he had a brother and they had issues, obviously. I think his brother may have died in one of the movies or something. So he has another brother, that being John Cena, or is this the same one? It's hard to say, guys. That's where it's getting kind of confusing because it's always a brother. It's always, something that is, kind of coming into these movies that's trying to throw like monkey wrenches into the whole mix of the story. It's starting to get a little bit confusing without a doubt. Now, Charlize Theron has been confirmed to reprise her villainous role as Cypher, while Helen Mirren is back too as Shaw's mother, Magdalene. The 9th movie has also added Cardi B, Peaky Blinders star Finn Cole, Anna Sawai, and Vinny Bennett, with all of their roles are being kept under wraps, while Marvel star Michael Rooker is playing a character named Buddy. So it's just look, guys, I mean, it's very exciting that you've got basically everyone's coming back overall, and even Brian, that being, Paul Walker's character, may be coming back as well in maybe a minor role with his brothers playing as him. It's hard to say, but that would be really cool if they kept on giving those props and such to Brian as a character, because I know that shook the whole world, and that's probably why Fast and Furious 7 did so well at the box office. Don't believe all those rumors about Ben Stiller's unexpected Fast and Furious 9 cameo. Reports of my Fast and Furiousness are greatly exaggerated, meaning not at all true. Sadly, though I wish them well with the franchise, fingers crossed it takes off, he joked on Twitter. However, there's apparently a major cameo and a big surprise in the movie that Diesel won't tell anyone about. It's a testament to all the work that everyone has done. It's a testament to the integrity, and it's so awesome, he teased. So what is Fast and Furious 9 about? And look, guys, when I talk about a popcorn movie, a big blockbuster movie, a lot of times when we talk about like these action movies or these Fast and Furious movies, it's not so much about the story. It's more about the characters. It's more about, family and all of that. It has other underlying, different things that they're trying to do within this franchise. The story itself, a lot of times it can, kind of just get thrown out the door, like as far as all the different characters that are coming into the fray, the new ones, and whose brother is this, or, whatever the case might be. I think that at the end of the day, Fast and Furious is all about the characters. It's all about the family. With the first trailer came the official synopsis for the 9th movie, which is as follows. Dom Toretto is leading a quiet life off the grid with Letty and his son, little Brian, but they know that danger always lurks just over their peaceful horizon. This time, that threat will force Dom to confront the sins of his past if he's going to save those he loves most. His crew joins together to stop a world-shattering plot led by the most skilled assassin and high-performance driver they've ever encountered, a man who also happens to be Dom's forsaken brother, Jacob. Diesel expanded, telling Total Film, the theme that we've been playing with up until this point has been the family that you create with people from all walks of life, the family that is not blood. What makes the story of Fast 9 so fascinating is how that altruistic concept could neglect the family defined by blood. That's where this story goes. And look, guys, I'm excited about it. I mean, I really am. I think that's pretty cool. Even though it seems like it's a lot of rinse and repeat with these movies, it's still interesting how they pull off different stunts. They pull off all the, unrealistic action that's going on in these movies. It's interesting how it all kind of goes full circle. Okay, so as far as everything else is concerned, guys, within these movies, I mean, guys, we're talking, this is a franchise that has just gone on for so long, and it just seems like they just keep getting, more and more unrealistic, but at the same time, that's what they are, and they accept that, and people love them. And like I said, it's all about characters, all about the family, and it'll be very interesting to see how this movie does, and like what people, as they continue this story. I think people are going to be going to the theaters to watch them without a doubt. Fast and Furious 9 will be out in cinemas in April 2nd, 2021. So what's good about this is that we know a lot about this movie. It's going to be probably a lot of the same, but there's going to be some twists and turns, and I think that's something that every Fast and Furious movie up to this point has kind of given us. It's at least the more recent ones have given us something to look forward to, and I'm excited to see where they go with this, guys. I really am. I'm excited to see kind of the direction they go in to, of course, Fast and Furious 10, or the two-part, ending or conclusion to this, at least these movies with Vin Diesel and the rest of the crew, but let me know what you guys think about Fast and Furious 9. What are you the most excited about seeing? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Fast and Furious 9 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Assassin's Creed, guys, has without a doubt been one of my favorite franchises of all time, but more recently than not, I've been very critical of this franchise and the direction that it's gone. So in this last segment of the show, guys, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla once again, but I also want to talk about just where this franchise went wrong and how can we see this franchise go in the right direction once again. So let's talk about it. So guys, I want to talk about Assassin's Creed as a whole. Look, so I got into Assassin's Creed from the very beginning in 2007 with Assassin's Creed. This was a game that came out, guys, 2007 on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows. I got it on the Xbox 360, and there was something about this game that was just very different. My cousin was actually the one who actually got me into it, saying that this was a really great game, that you have to try it out. It's very different and really has a cool story to it, and the character's very mysterious and all of that. So I ended up getting it, playing it, and I thought to myself, this is a really interesting concept. I wonder if they're going to continue, with this franchise, because this might be something that could be special. And then, of course, guys, not only did they start making more games, but they were making them pretty much very regularly. I mean, they were bringing out a new Assassin's Creed game essentially every single year, and they've been pretty much doing that ever since 2007, even though some of these are obviously, with expansions, also bringing out games on like the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation Portable and things of that nature. But if we talk about the main franchise here, the main storyline, all of that, the main expansions to this franchise, we're talking, of course, guys, Assassin's Creed, and then, of course, Assassin's Creed 2 that came out in 2009. And what I'll say is this: a lot of people think that Assassin's Creed 2 was some people say it was one of, if not the best, out of the entire franchise. I would say it was pretty good. I enjoyed Assassin's Creed 2. I thought it was very well done. When you got to Brotherhood in 2010, I was thinking to myself, man, this is really, they're starting to build something here. Kind of reminding me of Call of Duty, because Call of Duty was starting to come out every single year. And so it was starting to kind of remind me of that with Brotherhood. And I thought Brotherhood was an interesting concept. Once we got to Revelations, that was, in my opinion, close to the pinnacle of this franchise. Even though with Revelations, I'm one of those people that was, when I was playing the story, it was very much so like, where are they going here? Like, it was kind of, you're wondering, where is this franchise going at this point? Because I really enjoyed the games. Obviously, like I was really getting into the story, but it was starting to get very convoluted between, like, the Animus and of course, going into the Assassin's Creed world itself, and where are they going with this story? And after Revelations, it kind of felt to me like they started going in different directions. And this is where I kind of felt that they started having somewhat of an identity crisis, even though Assassin's Creed 3 in 2012 and then Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag in 2013, I thought were very good additions to the franchise. I thought that they were still very good. And actually, when you really think about it, I thought Black Flag was the literal pinnacle of this franchise. It was at its best, in my opinion. Like, I thought that even though it was kind of starting to get a little bit confusing with the story itself, it was still very good with the gameplay mechanics and just the different places that we were playing at. But then after Black Flag, we got Rogue, we got Unity, and at the end of the day, guys, even Freedom Cry, right? But really, Rogue in 2014, Unity in 2014, and then Syndicate in 2015. Now, I'm not going to say that these were all bad, right? But I'm going to say that Unity and Rogue, I was not a fan of whatsoever. I was thinking, okay, they're bringing out 2 of these, they're starting to pump out way too much content for Assassin's Creed, and it's starting to get very, not only was it getting confusing as far as the story's concerned, then we're starting to just have so many different options as far as how we wanted to connect with the franchise. And then, of course, guys, in 2015, you had, of course, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I thought had some interesting concepts, but once again, didn't land extremely well, in my opinion. And then we come to, of course, Assassin's Creed Chronicles, which, of course, you had one in China, then you had the Chronicles in India as well as Russia in 2016, which I did not like whatsoever. And that just led us into Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla at this point, which we're going to talk about Valhalla because, of course, that's not out yet. It's going to be coming out later this year, but Origins and Odyssey. These two, in my opinion, guys, I think that at this point, I think that they're 2 of the worst out of all of the Assassin's Creed games that we've had up to this point. Now, I'm not going to include in there the games on Nintendo DS, the games on iOS and Android. I'm talking the main expansions of this franchise. I'm saying that Odyssey and Origins, I just didn't think that they were very good whatsoever. I thought that they totally went away from what made the series great. Now, why did they do this? Well, maybe because since Assassin's Creed in 2007, all the way up to Assassin's Creed Origins, maybe a little bit before that, they were basically doing the exact same thing. They were it was kind of the tradition of Assassin's Creed, and they thought to themselves, well, we need to change things up to kind of freshen things up, which is what they definitely did with Origins and Odyssey. Comparing it once again to Call of Duty had this great stretch of games. They had, peaks and valleys, of course, but then once they got to the jetpack era, that being, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, those were, in my opinion, the dark ages of Call of Duty. And now I feel that Assassin's Creed with Origins, Odyssey, and potentially Valhalla, we may be in the dark ages of Assassin's Creed. I hope not. I hope Valhalla is great, but it feels like, from the trailers at least, it's going to be more of the same. But look, I think at the end of the day, Ubisoft decided, we got to change some things up, because if we don't change things up, then, it's going to get stale. And so I get it. I totally get what they're thinking here, but I don't think that the problem was things getting stale. I think the problem was they were making too many games. They were treating Assassin's Creed like it was a Call of Duty, but even it was like a Call of Duty on steroids. I mean, we're talking, guys, you're talking Assassin's Creed Chronicles, India and Russia both came out in 2016. Chronicles China as well as Assassin's Creed Syndicate both in 2015. 2014 was filled with Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, Assassin's Creed Rogue, Assassin's Creed Identity, and Assassin's Creed Unity. Sure, not all those are on consoles, but some of them are, and then others are on Android and iOS. Look, guys, at the end of the day, it comes down to oversaturation, and that's what happened with this franchise. If they would have just, look, coming out with an Assassin's Creed game on iOS and Android is fine, and they update it over time. Don't bring it out and then bring out more of iOS and Android games. I just don't see the point of that. It's like with Call of Duty, they made a Call of Duty Online, right? And it's a, mobile game, or it should be a Call of Duty Mobile is what it's called. And so Call of Duty Mobile comes out, and they're probably just going to keep updating. I don't think they're going to make a Call of Duty Mobile 2. They're most likely just going to keep it at that, and they're going to consistently be updating it. And so I kind of wish that Assassin's Creed did something similar to that, if they're going to try to basically do exactly what Call of Duty has done up to this point. It just feels like it's just overkill when it comes to Assassin's Creed. Now, let's talk about today. With Assassin's Creed Valhalla getting, of course, their reveal trailer, and I said this already earlier in the show, that Valhalla looks visually stunning. It looks visually incredible, right? but it feels like more of the same. It feels like more of the same that what they continued with Origins and Odyssey. It just feels like they're kind of continuing that. And look, we got to wait till we see game footage, actual gameplay, and then when we get our hands on the game to really give a proper assessment of it. But it just, look guys, when you look at this, it's like, okay, Vikings and Roman soldiers and, all of that, they don't seem like assassins, which is what you're supposed to be playing as, is a part of the creed, right? And sure, they're most likely going to tie it in somehow or another to the overarching story, or are they? It's hard to say. But what Assassin's Creed got wrong is not the fact that they were making, they had to change the formula. It's the same thing with Call of Duty. Call of Duty felt like we got to change the formula. No, you don't need to change the formula. You just got to stop pumping out, games every single year or multiple games every single year. That's really what it comes down to. Make the story make more, sense. I feel like between Assassin's Creed, India and Russia, or the Chronicles that came out, or I should really say Syndicate. After Syndicate, what they should have done was done an overhaul on Assassin's Creed, at least for a few years. Come up with the story, how it's going to really tie in back into the story, and kind of go from there. Kind of revamp everything, take your time. It feels like, Odyssey and Origins, one comes out in 2017, the next comes out in 2018. Not saying that it's not okay to do that, guys, but at the end of the day, it just feels that they're pumping out way too much content for everyone, which a lot of people, usually that's a good thing, but when we're talking about a massive franchise like this, and you're trying to tie in different stories and narratives and such, you really want to kind of take your time somewhat, in my opinion, and do what made this series so great. I'll give you another example. Dead Space. Dead Space up to this point has 3 games, and we don't know if there's really a future for the Dead Space franchise. A series that started off as a horror franchise, and then, of course, you had Dead Space 1 and then 2. It's a shooter, of course, third-person shooter, but it started as a horror game, and then in the third game they tried to change things up and they made it an action game. And so it's an action horror, which people didn't like that it's an action horror. They wanted it just be really a horror shooter at the end of the day. And so what Assassin's Creed did was they went from being a stealth RPG to an action RPG. And so they went away from what pretty much made the series so great. Now, sure, do they all have great visuals? Absolutely. Do they have decent stories? At the end of the day, Origins and Odyssey, I'm not going to say that the stories were absolutely terrible, but what I will say about it is they changed that now. Not only is it, the story itself that you're trying to get into, they force you to do side missions and side quests and such in order to continue the main story. And that really bothered me as well. I like to, if I'm starting to get into a story and I want to start, understanding things better, being pulled out of that story to do side quests is a very annoying thing, at least in my opinion. I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below about that. But it just feels like forcing someone to do side quests when you're getting into a story is just not the way to do it. And I understand they want you to take in everything that the game encompasses, but I like doing it at my own pace. Also, having multiplayer, having co-op modes are also very good things in this franchise. I believe it was Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was the first time that they introduced multiplayer, and I thought the multiplayer concepts were so unique to Assassin's Creed, and I loved it. I thought it was great having a game that was like a stealth multiplayer. It was really great concepts, but they didn't really continue it in a major way. They kind of just tried it out with Brotherhood, and I'm not saying that they're not trying multiplayer modes and such, but I would love to see more multiplayer as well as an emphasis on co-op in a stealth way. You can make it action, guys. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's almost like having a Splinter Cell game. Splinter Cell changing from stealth to action, which is kind of what happened with the most latest Splinter Cell, Blacklist. So what I'm getting at here, guys, is when a franchise goes away from what makes it great, you're going to lose part of that fan base over time. And I'm just saying that this is what one man's thoughts are on it. Valhalla looks visually great, and I I have hopes that it's going to have, stealth in it. It's going to bring us back to what made the series great, or at least near the end of the story, it kind of takes us in a direction that, hey, we're moving back this way, back to what made the series great. We're going back to the Assassin's Creed and all of that, and whatever capacity that is. Because at this point, guys, a lot of people don't even know what's going on with the story. And so I think it's important that they kind of give us that background as to where the story is and where it's going moving forward. But that's, in my opinion, guys, what Assassin's Creed got wrong. I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And for more Assassin's Creed content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.